Look out, world. I'm live. See if anybody joins. See if we can have some fun here. See if I find my glove. Got it. Ooh, that's a keeper. Yeah, make something good with that. All right, pretty thin. I need a scrap bucket too. Use that one. All right, I'm back. Nobody's with me. That's okay. Let's see, I should get some examples. And I'll also bring out some better examples. There's that. What did I make last night? That. There's a nice thin point. Okay, let's see. Let's take off some of these edges. Get more in the box. Hey, someone's joined. Hello. Hello and welcome. Hey, Harry. Welcome. Flintknapping. So flintknapping is the process of making stone tools. So here's a long knife blade or spear point that I made the other day. And I'm about to shape and break this large piece of rock to try and make it into a tool. An ancient technology. It's one of the oldest technologies that we know of in terms of what humans have, did in the past. This is what a knife looked like for a very, very, very long time. Our ancestors, all of them, needed this. This is before they had copper or bronze or steel. They had stone. Chai Dog, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. So I'm just out here practicing. This is a skill that I've been in the process of learning for quite a while. Thank you, Harry. I really appreciate that. That means so much. It can be weird going to the trouble of making videos and doing lives, and you don't know if anybody's, appreciating it. So to hear that you've subscribed is a very nice like that. So I'm interested in all kinds of ancient or ancestral technologies. How did people make fire in the past? How did they make clothing? How did they make rope? How did they make knives? And so I sort of spend a lot of time do these things myself. This is the kind of flake that comes off. Exceptionally sharp when a flake like this is very, very sharp. My goal here is to try to make this, well, thinner in this dimension. You know, something more like this. Or this is one I made last night. This is a very small knife, but much thinner. And then to take on some sort of more useful shape, not like this rectangle. So I need to take a look at the shape of the stone and see it's low here and it's high here. On the side, this is high. So this area right in here is non-flat. So it's going to be difficult to with. So chances are I will work into the stone this way in order to get rid of this non-flat area. I want a curved blade. I mean, you could do it. It would kind of work, but it's a lot easier to use a nice straight blade. So I'm going to start working my way into that side a little bit. Getting some nice big flakes. I'll show you where they come off. This is kind of cool. So I hit here, which takes a piece off the bottom. I'll show you that. There's the piece, and there's the flake. And sometimes they just fit right back in. But again, can you see how the edges almost glow? That's because it's translucent. It's so thin that light gets through it. And that makes these incredibly sharp. The flakes that come off are tools themselves. So even though I'm trying to make sort of a larger, more complicated thing, in the past, the flakes that were just knocked off might have been the tool they were trying for. This might be all they needed if they just needed to do some kind of quick cutting task. I save the larger ones so that I can make arrowheads from them later. For instance, this arrowhead was made with a large flake that came off from a project I was working on some time ago. Okay, onward. Trying to more or less flatten the piece to a degree so that then I can set up controlled hits to take off long, thin flakes that allow me to make this piece thinner in this dimension while controlling its profile, while controlling its overall shape. Scoping out where there's a lot of extra mass. I should have mentioned this stone is a stone called dacite. Let's see. Like all of the stones that you use for flint knapping, it has a particular set of characteristics. It's silica, and it's also made up of fine, very small crystals that are all bonded together. You can think of it as being a lot like glass. And what that allows is, and force hits it. Because it's so uniform, it's so homogeneous, force travels through it in a predictable way that allows us to take flakes off in a more or less, known way, so that we can shape it in the way that we desire. Not every stone is going to be suitable for the process of flint knapping. This is dacite, and it's very suitable. And where did I put my tool? There it is. This is a copper bopper. This is a modern tool. I use it just to sort of save my elbow. There's a lot of repeated motions here, and over time you can develop problems with your joints. But historically, you would have used either a hammer stone, like this, take off flakes, right? Or a piece of antler. And this works well too. So this is how it was done historically. I do enjoy doing it that way, but this way is just a easier on my joints, which allows me to do it without getting hurt and without needing to take long breaks when I do get hurt. I had to stop doing it for several months because my elbow hurt so bad. But ever since I switched to these, that hasn't happened again. So while it's not historically accurate or prehistoric at all, it's very similar, and it allows me to learn without getting hurt. "12 people. It's a record. Welcome. My name's Doug North. I'm practicing flint knapping tonight, an ancient method for making stone tools. And to answer questions about it, I make no claim that I'm an expert at this. I'm an advanced beginner, and learning my way through lots of trial and error. Not bad, not bad. Okay, let's give you an update. So this started off as a big chunky rectangle. And now you can see that it's forming, it's what we call a lenticular cross section. So it looks like a lens. And that's what we want. We need that in order to have the flakes travel far. This shape, maintaining this shape as I work is very important. This side's really good, very slightly curved. This side's pretty good, but I've got some deep spots over here that I'm going to need to fix. What am I making? That's a good question. So something big. I might be making a spear point. I might be making a knife, something like this one, the knife I made the other night. This one would probably be wrapped with a leather handle. I just haven't done that yet. So it's probably those two things. Unless something goes horribly wrong and I break it, end up with a much smaller piece, in which case I'll probably end up making something like an arrowhead. You got to have a backup plan because things often go wrong. Things often break. But thank you for the question there, cryptanalyst. Cryptanalysis. Did you ever read Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson? Man, that guy is smart. Woo! Very necessary step here. It's called abrading. For concurrent users, I'm famous. You can all say you knew me before I was famous. Right? No. All right. Oh, nice. Okay. I don't think anyone gets famous by flint knapping. I bet in the history of the world, there has been someone who is famous because of flint knapping. There was a time when if you were an expert at this, you would be the equivalent of the village blacksmith. And, you know, historically, the village blacksmith was always a very important person, you know, so crucial to keep everything working and running and giving everybody the tools that they needed to get by in life. Brady. Hey, Joseph, what's up? Okay. You've always got to be thinking several moves ahead. I've got some problems over here because this spot is low and the flakes ended abruptly. The problem with that is if I try to make more flakes over there, I would turn it over and hit right here to try and flakes here. As that force moves through the stone to create the flake, it will hit these ridges, these steps, and it'll stop, and the force will exit the rock, and it will just make this step even deeper. So I fix it by going the same direction. I have to come from this side and try to knock flakes off to bring this side higher down lower. Okay, so this is a problem with these lines. It's low and then they stop abruptly. So I need to take flakes off from this direction to try to make it all the same, approximately the same surface. I should be able to do it really bad, but I need to do a number of hits in here first. There's a low area. So before I can take these off, I need to deal with this low area. So you're working several steps ahead so that you don't make problems worse or get into a bind that you can't get out of. Good. Okay. Happy to try and answer questions. I know this is, it's an unusual skill. And even though there was a time in human history where most of us knew this, that's no longer the case. Give you an update here. That side's looking pretty good. This is my problem side. You can see these here, these abrupt stoppages. So the flakes came in this way and then just stopped. So I need to take flakes off from this direction to try and make all one surface again. Almost ready to try that. Yeah, I'm getting there. Let me just prepare. Preparation's very important. Yeah, I don't know about obsidian in Louisiana. I from out west. A lot of the stuff that I order, though, is from Texas. I don't remember if the dacite is from Texas, but this stuff, this gray material, this is Georgetown chert. And that's from Texas. That's quite a bit closer to you. I don't know what else. I don't know what else you may or may not have in Louisiana. You might have something good. I'm not sure. I do not have much that's good. There were a few sources in New England, but a lot of them were kind of used up in even in prehistoric times. Ooh, that's a big block that makes me worried. We'll see. Am I ready? Oh, I don't think I am. We're gonna sneak up to this fix. That's okay. Yeah, Joseph. Question. What does the abrading do? So, this is called percussion knapping. I'm hitting it with a percussor, right? So the object being is when I hit it, the force has to transfer the billet into the stone, which then radiates through the stone in order to create a nice, long, thin flake. Long, thin flakes are important because I need to take flakes off that reach to the middle of the piece or beyond. If I don't, if they aren't as long as the middle or beyond, then the center of my piece is always going to be fat. You're always going to end up with a big, fat, chunky thing, and it won't be blade-like. So, what abrading does is when I knock a piece off of this edge, it can become pretty sharp, very sharp, I should say. So I take the abrader and I make it less. That has the effect of making the edge stronger. Stronger so that when I hit it the next time, it won't just crush. It'll be strong enough to take the force, carry it through, and give me a long flake, which is often what I need to make the piece the shape that I want. So abrading is very important and overlooked, or at least overlooked by people who are just beginning. But it doesn't seem to make sense. But it's really important for getting the best possible flake every time. Hey Zara, I'm flint knapping. I'm in the process of making stone tools. So something like this, which is either a spear point or a knife blade, a type of tool. And I've been shaping this rock for the last 27 minutes, making it smaller and thinner in order to make it something like the tool I just showed you. It's a very ancient process, practiced all over the world. Okay. From this side for a little bit. 16 concurrent users. I'm psyched. Thank you all. I appreciate your time. No such thing as a stupid question either, because otherwise I wouldn't know anything. Hey. Who was it that was asking about? Oh, it was Joseph. You still there, Joseph? If you're looking to just started in this, there are a couple of recycled materials that will give you a feel for it. I'll show you those. The first one is this, glass. Especially if you can find some old bottles that have bottom glass, or maybe if you find like a whiskey, one of those flatter whiskey type bottles, those can have flat sections of glass. And with those, you can make small arrowheads. So I could make a small arrowhead out of this section of glass. Maybe that's what I should do once. Think. That'd be kind of a cool project, right? Like I could try to break this out. And then the technique for shaping an arrowhead, it's pretty accessible because it involves a more controlled kind of flaking. The other thing you might look into is this. I don't know if you can tell what that is, but you've got one in your bathroom. This is a piece of toilet tank, not toilet bowl, toilet tank. So the big flat sections break more or less like the stone I'm working with. I can show you. So I'll hit right here and hopefully take off a piece down here. Right? Whoops, I dropped it. Well, I hit right here and I took that piece off right there. So it is possible to make, flint tools out of toilet tank. It's not the best material in the world by any means, but you can often get it for free. You can get a feel for the process, start to learn the techniques before you have to try hard to find some good quality material. yeah, it's fun. So toilet tank, and you can use stones as your hammer stone. Or you could go get some copper fittings at the end of a dowel. If you've got ants around, these make excellent billets. This is a deer, it might be a mule deer, the base of the antlers. That's what was used historically in many parts of the world. So ways to get started: thick glass or toilet tank are good ways to get into it. Back to the project at hand. It's getting thinner, and I'm starting to get a point shape. I might start working down here because I don't think I want a big flat area. And it's also really thick, so I'm going to start working on that stuff a little bit. Let's see. Very good question about the abrading. There we go. Good, 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 good. Let's see, that's going to be a problem. I appreciate you folks tuning in. Of course, I appreciate if you choose to subscribe to my channel too and check out some of the videos I've got there. I'm trying to add up my add to my videos and get a decent amount going. Maybe one day I can monetize. I'm a long, long way from it, so I'm just sort of dreaming right now. It's possible, but I'm a long way from it. And I don't know how this works. I'm just learning. But in order to monetize on YouTube, you've got to have 1,500 subscribers, which I've got. Yay! But then you also have to have 4,000 hours of watch time in the last year. And that I do not have. Not even close, my friends. Let's get an update here. So the problem area that I have is, or had, is pretty much gone now. This side is convex. This side is where the problem was, and there's still a little bit in here. But that should be pretty easy to take care of over the next couple passes. So it's kind of getting more uniform and a little better. And all of this, really everything that you're doing is to work toward making the flakes as long as possible. Oh, that was a good hit. I had a flake go pretty much all the way across. That's good. Starting to be a pretty nice biface. Biface is just a term for a tool that has been worked on both sides. And bifaces often weren't really tools in themselves, but let's say I went with my companions to a quarry where the good stone was located. It'd be 100 miles away or something, and that's a 10-day journey. And we can only afford to do it twice a year. Well, what we might do is go there and spend some time chipping a big rock down something like this. Because now this is large enough that I could turn it into a spear point or a knife or several arrowheads, but it's not giant and big and heavy. So I could carry, 50 of these back home, and they're sort of like blanks that are ready to be turned into finished tools when I have a need for them. So this taking something to this stage might just be a way to make them smaller and more portable so that you could carry them from the quarry site. Or you could take something, it's a nice big tool blank basically, and I could trade for it. So someone else who knows how to flint knap would say, oh, that's good stone. I don't have that stone. I'd like it. Here, have a beaver pelt or whatever. Make some sort of trade. And we know that's happened on certain archaeological sites, Native American archaeological sites. We'll find stone from hundreds and hundreds of miles away. It's unlikely that one person decided to walk, 300 miles to go and then walk back and ultimately lose it in the ground and then we find it. Probably there were trade networks. So, we would trade with whatever the group is right next to us, and they would trade with the group beyond them, and so on until it was, 300 miles away. So I may never meet that group. I may never know exactly where the piece, but in that way, material could make its way hundreds of miles to different people. And we find that in archaeological sites. It's really cool because that allows you to say, oh, wow, these people must have been trading with these other people because there's no other good way to this kind of stone got here. Yeah, that's a nice biface. This is still a bit of a low area right here. So I'm sort of working in to try and get rid of that, because otherwise, see how this kind of has a bend? Until I get past that low area, it's always going to have, the edge is always going to have that little bit of a. So as it gets thinner, if I'm careful, that should diminish and go away. Still like something it's calming to watch. Oh, that's neat to hear. I find it meditative up until the point where I accidentally break it. And then I don't find it meditative anymore. But so far, so good. Yeah, let's see. Switch to a smaller tool in the hopes that I don't apply too much force and break it. Yeah, nice. Took off some nice series of flakes here. Boom, 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 boom. Right in a row. Takes off some down here at the bottom. Okay. I just love this material. It's a little brittle compared to some of the ones I use, but I just think it looks really cool. All that black. Okay, I still got that low spot, but I'm slowly thinning it down to get rid of it. Yeah. have I been practicing? Yeah, that's a good question. I tried it a little bit when I was in college, quite a long time ago, but never got any good at it. And then I'd say about 2.5 years ago, I started practicing a lot, and I got quite a bit better. But I was using all traditional tools, like these antlers and stuff. And I ended up developing like tennis elbow. And I had to stop for, I probably stopped for like a year. And then I picked it up again basically this year. So, kind of, I've been doing it for a couple years. Progress is slow. I've got books, and there's videos on YouTube. I've got some friends who are quite good at it, but they're not local. So I can pictures or whatever and ask what's going on here, what can I do? But it's not the same as having them sitting right here and showing me what to do, or to say, oh, whoa, stop, don't do that. So progress is slow. But I am making progress. I'm getting better. But I've tried a lot of different craft things. Like I used to be a clock repairer. I've done, simple metal smithing with silver and brass. I've done woodworking, all kinds of stuff. But I'd say this is the hardest that I've ever tried. I mean, the stone is kind of unpredictable, a little unpredictable, and it's easy to make a mistake. If I'm going to hit, I have to hit right on the edge here to make a flake. But if I happen to hit, just like a 1/4 inch too far in, this will just break in half. Boom, broken in half. And then I've got 2 pieces that are much smaller. You can still use them, but you won't be making like a nice big thing. It's over. So that happens a lot, at least to me. Hopefully as I get better, that happens less. But as of now, it's still a lot. So I've been doing it a few years, but kind of off and on. That side's pretty uniform. This side still has that low area. I've got to decide what I'm going to do about that. Basically, either shorter or thinner to get rid of that. See this low area right here? It's okay, except that low area makes this dip in the edge of the blade. So this is straight, dip. That's not ideal. And so to change that, I need to break pieces off to move that edge away. As I do that, though, I'll be making the blade narrower. It's a trade-off with flint knapping. As you're making something thinner this way, you're making it smaller this way, and often this way. So, it's just part of it. You have to make it smaller to make it thinner. One bigger. Okay, good. All right, that helped a lot. So straight, 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 straight. Here's where the dip was, and now it's just a little dippy. Got this bit right here. So I'll take some flint off from the other side, like this. Braid it a little bit. Oh, I broke part of it. All right, you get to see what it's all about. Boop. Still got a pretty big piece right here. So this isn't a horrible disaster, but this was looking really good, like really big. I just started to fix the spot. What happened? Probably I was holding it on my leg, and the spot right underneath where it broke, it probably didn't have enough support under it. That would be my guess. And then I came along and went whack, and the rock was able to flex just enough that that broke off. So this is very common. It used to bum me a lot. Now it only bums me out a little. Because what I'll do now, see, we've got this flat area now. I'll just thin the area up at the top so that it comes to a point again. And hopefully I can salvage, something this long out of it instead of something this long. It's not at all what I wanted to happen, but frankly, it's a huge part of this, and it's definitely a huge part of learning this. Try to kind of quickly shape it back into something resembling a point. Taking sort of small flakes off the edges. I want to apologize to you, but really, it's just part of it. It's a little embarrassing, but it is really just how this works. Pieces break all the time. If you take an interest in this, I recommend getting online and finding some folks who are really, really good at it and seeing what they... Okay, so I'm starting to taper that point back up again so that I can turn this back into something, usable. This is very common prehistorically too. Let's say you made a great big knife and it was great and you used it a lot and it got dull. So you use the pressure flaker to push little tiny chips off of it to make it sharp again. Great, so now you got a sharp knife again. Except it goes from being like this big to like this big. And you do it again, and it's like, and it just gets smaller and smaller and shorter and smaller. until eventually, you know, your big old knife is like this, and you're like, oh, this isn't a useful knife anymore, but it's still big enough to be an arrowhead if I stop there and if I shape it so it becomes an arrowhead. So pieces that reused a lot, you know, they would go from something big to a tool that was smaller, like a little arrowhead or a scraper or a very small drill, an awl. So because the stone was valuable and the people didn't want to waste it, they would find ways to make smooths out of the broken pieces. So even though I didn't want to break it, I'm following along in a very old tradition by trying to salvage this to a smaller tool. All right, we're getting there. Starting to get a point back on it. And then I might just show you a bit of pressure flaking quickly, just to give sense for what that is and what it can do. Okay. All right. We're back to having a tool with a point on it. And it's still pretty good size. So if I were to have to maybe an antler handle, I've got what might be a knife blank. It could be a spear, but I like making knives because it's actually kind of fun to use them, to experiment with them. Yeah. Yeah, this is starting to look pretty good. Sort of tilt it so you can see the flake scars in the light. And then this is how thin it is. And then there's the other side. And that low that I was talking about is completely gone, most of which because I broke that tip off. But getting there. So this really only needs some additional thinning, which I may not do tonight, but I will. I do want to show those of you who are still around about pressure flaking. So up until this point, I've been doing this, what's called percussion. The other option that we have is pressure flaking. So I take this rubber pad and I put it in my left, and I put the piece on top of it with the edge showing. I'm going to use this edge. I'm going to take a copper tipped tool and find a low spot on that edge. Put it right on the edge. Then I'm going to put it between my legs. I'm going to push with my arms and squeeze with my legs. And that will push a flake off. So instead of hitting it off, I'm going to push it off. Here we go. There it goes. So here's the flake that came, and it came off from right here. Whoops, I think I could put that back. Let me just, got to hold it down for a second so I can see it. Oh, I dropped the flake. Well, you get the idea. So I just pushed this flake off. I can go to this spot right next to it, push a flake off there, and there, and work all the way down, flip it over, go all the way on this side, and then do the same on the opposite side. And the benefit of this technique is that the piece has gotten thinner. Every time I go to hit it, I'm running more and more of a risk of breaking. And so this technique is more controlled, and so I'm less likely to break it in two. And you can really, if you've got some crazy shape that you want to do, if you want this, I don't know why, you want this shape to go like, woo, well, you can use this to sort of flake in that crazy area, and you can do a lot. And it's needed, let's say, if this is an arrowhead. Arrowheads often have notches in the side so that you can tie it to the shaft. So if I were to start making one of those notches, flip it over, and I'll notch from this side. One more on this side. Flip it over. And so you can see, I've started to create this notch right here. And that's one thing you do with pressure flaking. So if I do one on the opposite side, over here, then I got a way to wrap or tie this to a shaft, to a, some kind of air. So that's another big thing that you do with pressure flaking. Well, folks, I think I'm happy with how far I've taken this piece, at least for today. We've got a nice dacite biface that I could turn into a knife, spear point, arrowhead, something like that. Any last question before I wrap it up for the evening? I do appreciate you joining me. I had no idea if anybody be at all interested in that figure. I just got to give it a try and see if anybody wants to follow along, ask questions, and just spend a little time. Thanks for showing me some. I'll check you out some other time. Great. Thank you so much, Joseph. And thanks for checking out my channel. I appreciate that. I need all the help I can get, and I appreciate it. Have a good night. I'll just hang out here and see if there's any last questions, and we'll wrap it up. Seems pretty, I can't see anybody typing. So, well, once again, thank you very much. My name is Doug North, and I'm going to be making a lot more videos, long form videos on YouTube. And it will cover this kind of stuff, not specifically flint knapping every time, but it will almost always involve making something. Making a video on next is called a sling stick. It's kind of a weird combination of the sling that David used for Goliath. It's also in combination with a short stick. So it's kind of neat, kind of different. And I'm going to be showing you all how to make that. That won't be live, but perhaps live sometimes I'll show you how to make an arrowhead out of the bottom of a glass bottle. I think that'll be a fun one. And if you've got other ideas, you know, find the comment section here or on one of my other videos, or send me a note. And I'd like to see, because I'm here for you. I hope you have a great night. And I've really appreciated that you spending a little time with me. All right. Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate all the feedback. All right, folks. Have a good night, and I'll see you again soon. You take care.